Moneyweb at midday for all your up-to-date stories.
Now, foot and mouth disease has become one of the biggest threats facing South African agriculture, disrupting livestock movements, threatening export markets and costing farmers millions of rand. Now, just weeks after taking office, the Agriculture Minister, Aucamp, has already announced a major shift in government policy, opening the door to private vaccine imports and administration, all in an effort to get the outbreak under control. But is that enough, and how quickly can confidence be restored within the community itself? Minister, a very warm welcome to you. And within days of taking office, you moved quickly to settle litigation, allow private vaccine procurement and administration. I just want to know whether that was because you concluded the department's previous policy was either legally indefensible, scientifically wrong, or simply failing very angry farmers.
Jeremy, when I became the minister, I had a good, proper look at what the situation is with foot and mouth and all the measures that's been put in place to curb it. And I've obviously had briefings with legal teams and with experts in the field. And I invited the three litigants against the department, and I said, let's sit around a table and see how we can get around this. The most important thing for me was to see how we can get vaccines, firstly, in the country, faster. Secondly, how we can distribute it faster. And thirdly, how we can vaccinate animals faster. And those three pillars were the core pillars of what we've agreed with each other. There obviously are a lot of challenges, and we knew from day one that government on its own will not be able to take this foot and mouth disease on. We need to have the buy-in and inputs from the private sector as well.
Your predecessor, Minister, defended, though, tight state control over vaccines. You, as you've just said, effectively reversed that position. Was there a specific thing that you saw in your first week or so that persuaded you the old approach was simply a bad one and had to be abandoned?
So in terms of the law, and that is one thing that we said in the settlement meeting for each other, that everything that we do must adhere to the law, and it must allow us to still apply under WOA for foot and mouth free classification. The law is clear. The vaccine can only be implemented or applied by an authorized person, and then the law goes further and says that that authorized person is the director of animal health in the department. But the law does not stop there. The law makes provision for instances where the minister can, with the cooperation of the director of animal health and via her, then expand that delegation of who becomes an authorized person. And that is precisely what we've done. We've said that farmers might apply. They must apply. We can't do that to every farmer. They must apply to become authorized persons. And in that application, provide us with a certain amount of information, which will then allow the director of animal health to approve that application. And that is precisely what we've done here. So I think that is the main shift, is we've looked at provisions that will allow farmers to become authorized people and then apply the vaccinations themselves.
And you're confident, Minister, that the regulation within that system is going to work. Can you guarantee that this liberalization that you're talking about isn't going to produce a chaotic vaccination free for all, which is the last thing I imagine you want?
Definitely. I can guarantee that that is the case. There will not be a free-for-all. Every farmer that wants to vaccinate his animals himself must apply. He must give a certain amount of information. He must also, 5 days prior to injecting his animals with the vaccine, he must give notice thereof. And 14 days thereafter, he must give feedback. I say he, she as well. We've got very good female farmers in the country. But the farmer or the farm manager, whoever applied and whoever was appointed as an authorized person, has got a list of feedback information that must be provided. If that feedback is not provided, that person will not get vaccines. So new vaccine supplies to them will be subject to adherence of that. And if they don't reply and in time, we will follow up with them, as well as the veterinarians that they are working with. So what we've got now, Jeremy, is vaccines coming in quicker, because we've said that government, nor owners to put biological products, will insist on exclusive import agreements. So that opens a new channel for imports. We've also said that distribution will now be quicker because in the past, all vaccines had to go via honors-to-poor biological products before it could be distributed in the country. Now, a private entity that brings in the vaccine can distribute it throughout the country themselves. So it will get quicker to the veterinarian offices, and then farmers can order it from their veterinarian offices. That veterinarian must also provide feedback on who he supplied or she supplied vaccines to. So I'm quite sure that this system is foolproof. We've got an online application system. Nobody will get vaccines. That is not allowed in terms of the law to get vaccines.
But your clock, though, Minister, is ticking. Government says it wants to vaccinate 80% of the national herd at roughly 14 million, I think is the figure I read. Could you tell me how many doses are physically available as we speak today? How many animals are being vaccinated each week? And on what date do you expect to reach that 80% target?
So up to now, roughly 13.5 million vaccines came into the country. Roughly 8 million animals have been vaccinated. We are in certain areas busy with the booster vaccination that's going on. The Milk Producers Organization, Mr. Fani Ferreira, contacted me last week. They had certain new outbreaks. We've got 1,385,000 milk cows in the country. They have already received 1.4 million vaccines. So every milk cow has been vaccinated, or dairy cow has been vaccinated once. We have agreed that we will now start with a speedily rollout of the booster vaccination for all the dairy cattle, because we saw the severe effects that this disease have got on the dairy cattle. And it's also important that we then monitor the effectiveness of that vaccine after it's been administered. So if you look at the target of 80%, when we've got already standing at roughly 8 million, vaccines are coming in very fast now. We've got 1.5 million vaccines that came in last week. They are on order from either government or other vaccine producing companies or import companies, roughly 4 million vaccines. So in the past, there was a problem with not having enough vaccines. I think we have crossed that river and we are now in a place where we can more readily distribute vaccines. And as I said, with what's been put in place, this will now be distributed easier. And I think the big bottleneck was the application thereof. You just simply, the veterinarians, both state veterinarians and private veterinarians, were not enough to go out to every farm. Now the farmer can go there, he can collect his vaccinations, and he can go and vaccinate his animals, which will definitely put us in a much better position to reach our target than what we were before.
And Minister, let me finish with this. You were taken to court, or your department was taken to court, because farmers believed it was obstructing them from protecting their own herds. I think that's common cause. Will you now apologize for the losses caused while government resisted private procurement, and would there be any compensation for farmers who lost animals?
Look, Jeremy, this is a difficult question for me because I was not the minister at that stage. I can only apply my mind on what I can do. And what I can do is to take hands with the sector, to look for plans. My approach has always been one of inclusivity. I believe that we've got farmers that are reasonable, and that once you sit around a table with them, you'll get to solutions. And that is exactly what we've managed to do here. So I would not like to pronounce myself on what's been done before I became the minister. I can just pronounce myself on what I am doing and what the department is doing here. So we are going forward with what we've settled here and implemented. I've had discussions with the rest of the industry, with all the farming organizations, Agri-SA, the TLU, FMD response from Richard Morphew. I've met with the ministerial task team as well as with the industry coordinating council on this. Everybody is on the same page. And I think that is a huge step forward, where we're not fighting each other in court, or there's no difference in opinions about the approach. Everybody is fighting in the same dugouts, and we're fighting one enemy, and that is this disease.
Agriculture Minister Willie Aucamp, thank you very much indeed.